It's your Whisky Sisters, Inka and Jen, back to cause a little dram-fueled chaos.
Join us as we stick our noses into the news, fire up the drams, and blather with whisky pals and industry legends from across the globe.
So pop the cork, fill your glass, and enjoy the ride. Oh my god. Wait till you try the an Icelandic one. Jesus.
Is it nice? Something smells
No,
nice.
it's horrible.
Is it horrible?
Well, I'll leave the chat for the podcast because I'll tell you about the...
I was going to say that one's quite funky, but it says on it sheep dung.
Oh no.
A warm Whisky Sisters welcome.
Hello, hello. Today we will be sampling some Nordic whiskey, including one that is made with sheep dung. Oh my god.
Oh, but it won't be a shitty episode. We promise you we have two very special guests to give us all the news on the latest in Nordic whiskey.
So, do you want to tell the big news? People probably have seen it on socials anyway, but...
Drum roll, fanfare. We were nominated in the... What were we, Inka?
I think it's like food and drink and hospitality is the category.
So we've been shortlisted in food and drink and hospitality category in the inaugural Scottish Podcast Awards.
Yay! Woo-hoo. There's one other whiskey podcast. Oh, damn it.
Yes, it's not another whiskey podcast. I've never listened to that, I have to say. I'm sure they've never listened to us.
Well, yeah, but it's very exciting. But we've got a slight dilemma because Metallica is playing that same night as the awards.
Whoever scheduled the awards is clearly not a metalhead, because what a ridiculous night to schedule it on. Sorry, Podcast Awards. That was quite selfish. Because, of course, we're going to Metallica.
I know, but we're going to try to swing by, have a wee drink, get our photos taken at least. You know what? And they also have this, you could choose the song that if you win, they play the song when you're walking to the stage. Do you remember ours?
Fire Women.
Yeah. So good.
Oh my God. Well, do you know what? I wish they told you if you won or not, because then we could just come back to Metallica, walk up, get a reward to Fire Women, and then go back to the gig.
I know. I don't know if you could get back in, but yeah, I know. It's such a bummer, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll at least try to swing by, right, at the beginning.
What would the strategy be? Would the strategy be to go in proper grown-up dresses and heels because it's an award show? Or would the strategy, and then a quick Whisky Sisters change because we know all about those, and then straight to the gig? Or would we be going gig ready to the Podcast Awards?
I reckon gig ready.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm going to be wearing, but I feel like gig ready would be fine.
But it's very cool. It is a shame that we can't go to the whole thing. But
I know. It's really a bummer.
Metallica comes first.
I wonder if voiceover Bob would go instead or something. I feel like we need someone just in case we end up winning and then there's no one.
And Bob could walk up to Fire Women. He would love that.
Yeah, and then he could do a sound bite of us, or he could just sing Whisky Sisters.
Not that we think we're going to win, by the way, but you've got to be prepared.
I know, but don't you want to be prepared? I know.
You've got to be prepared.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's good to be nominated and it's good fun.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, talking about awards, I just won as well. We award at the Oran Moore Whiskey Awards in Glasgow.
Amazing.
Influencer of the year.
You need to get that on your email signature because I noticed it isn't. Congratulations, Inka. That's really, really cool. No, it's a good feather in your whiskey loving cap.
Yeah. And then last week I had the honor of being in London with the International Wine and Spirit Competition and judge some whiskies, which I was a little bit nervous about, but actually it was good fun.
Oh, was it? That's good.
It was great. Like, it was intense and super fast paced. And I actually ended up sampling 77 whiskeys in one day, starting from 9:30 in the morning.
Nice.
But yeah, there's a lot of world whiskey. So it's quite funny. I'm not sure like how much I'm allowed to talk about it. But because we're doing an episode on Nordic whiskies, there was few Danish whiskies and some Finnish that we tried.
Oh.
And I have to say, like, they weren't like really great. There was like one that really stood out for me. Rest of the people who were sampling it weren't massive fans, but for me, it was like full of Finnish flavors, and it was really good. So it was definitely like marketed to Finnish people, you know what I mean?
But that's interesting, isn't it? The different palates, the different flavors from growing up.
They weren't amazing. Like, they weren't necessarily like all crap, but they weren't exciting or interesting. So I'm quite interested to talk to Heather and Andrea about this, because I kind of want to know what their overall view of the whiskies are at the moment, what's coming from the Nordics.
Yeah. And maybe our palates just aren't attuned yet. Well, you're attuned to the Finnish flavors if they're coming through.
But I think also it's just like, obviously when you're judging those things, you can't judge it on the things that you like. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, if you don't like peated whiskies, you'd be like, no, it's not worthy. You know what I mean?
Sure,
you have to just kind of look at more broadly.
Yes, for
the
sure.
balance and like, what is it layered? Is it complex? Is it, just offering something interesting and different and stuff?
So you weren't blown away by anything?
Like during the whole day?
Uh-huh.
Well, there was few, but like it was quite surprising how mundane it was overall. But yeah, I'm quite excited to wait and see like when they all release everything, just to, because obviously we don't know what we're judging at all. So
right.
like, you don't know the names and stuff. There's just a little bit of detail saying like, where is it from? And is it rye or is it single malt, for example?
I see. Oh, that sounds cool.
The percentage.
Quite blind.
Yeah, that was good. Good experience.
Whisky Sisters. Whiskey bullshit.
We haven't done whiskey bullshit for a while, so I thought, forget the news. Well, it's kind of news, I guess. But
this month we are the news. That was the news.
Yeah, we are the news. Anyway, I think this has just been all over socials. Maybe people are a little bit fed up about the conversation, but I feel like we can't not mention this. So obviously, Dalmore Distillery opened their new swanky visitor center after being closed for 5 years.
Oh.
So it's a bit of a mixed bag. Oh, there's a dog coming in.
We love a dog. We love a dog in the studio.
So it's funny because they just now open doors. So yeah, so basically it's not a usual tour. I don't know, have you like followed at all? Like, have you seen the chat?
I've not seen much on social media, to be honest.
Oh my God, you've just been in a little bubble.
I have. I've been reading classic novels lately. I've not been surfing the internet just as much.
Oh my God, what have you been reading? My Cousin Rachel?
At the moment, Little Women.
Ah, okay. Anyway, back to this is total bullshit, isn't it?
No, but we could do a wee book club episode. I think that would be nice.
Oh yeah, pairing whiskies with which whiskey if you read this book, what kind of whiskey would you like? I don't know.
And we should get Justina on because she reads so much.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, sorry, back to the chat about Dalmore.
Yeah, so anyway, so basically it's not your usual tour. Well, let's start with the price. It's £250 per person, but you have to have a minimum of 2 people. So obviously it's minimum 500 quid. There's no other options. There's no cheaper tours.
There's no cheap seat. Okay.
Yeah. People compare it to the Michelin star restaurant experience, or, you're kind of like the private client. They have like this concierge and you talk to them beforehand. And depending what if you have someone in the group who doesn't actually like whiskey, but still wants to come, they can do like a champagne tasting. Or they can do bespoke dinners. You can arrive on a helicopter. Fuck's sake. get cocktails. They go through the production areas, but they don't really go too much into detail unless you really want to, because obviously it's like can be a bit samey if you visit a lot of distilleries. They don't taste any of the core range really. You'd get some fancier whiskies. You can choose to have whiskey straight from the cask. Like you can kind of have a bespoke experience.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are really, really upset about this because if you've been a fan of Dalmore for ages and now you can't literally go and visit unless you really want to spend that much money,
I see. I mean, they've just decided to go high end, haven't they? They've just thought, sod it, we're going for that. Either your average Joe on a special occasion that's totally saved up, or your swanky people that are flying and staying at posh hotels, getting driven up or flown to the distillery, and that's just a wee,
Yeah.
nothing.
But
It's both, yeah.
they've all been booked up well into the 2027 and there's already like a reserve list. So, but I think it's obviously exciting at first, but like I wonder if it will then calm down, whether the prices of the bottles, even the core range, will go up. It just sounds very Macallan playbook. I don't know if they like core range. It's really like it doesn't scream luxury, or I don't know. Like, is the whiskey actually that good? But maybe the fancy bottles and their more exciting limited releases are. I think the core range is like okay.
I wonder why they don't offer that package, but a cheap seats package, like so that your average Joe or somebody can just go along and enjoy the bit of the day. That would have made sense to me. There's maybe a logistical reason.
Yeah, I feel like they don't want to be just running tours and being open all the time. And if you have these people who are willing to spend that much money, they're probably likely to spend also to buy bottles when they're there, right?
That's true. And not just a key ring like I do. Something like that.
Yeah, a fridge magnet and a notebook. That's me. Or occasional sweater.
Yeah. To be fair, we do buy bottles, but we're not going in and spending hundreds of pounds on.
Yeah, and sometimes like
stuff.
I can't carry the bottle. I don't have a bag or something. But it doesn't mean I don't buy the bottles of the distillery online later on or whatever. But but yeah, I don't think they're probably not even selling like fridge magnets. Yeah, I have to say I like the idea of the tour. I think for 250 quid, it does sound like you get a lot for your money, and you get really exciting whiskies and all sorts of stuff. And you get like canapes and all that kind of stuff. I think as a if you like hen do or birthday party, if anyone my 40th is next year, if anyone wants to buy me a gift. But you know what I mean? Like it's fine. I'm fine with that. But I'm not sure like how I feel about literally just deciding to ignore the people who kind of made the brand. You needed your average Joe to support the brand to get to this point that they are now. So it's just a bit naughty in that sense.
So has the general gist of the online chat been that's too fancy and it's not inclusive?
Yeah, it's quite splitting. I think quite a few people are very upset about the fact that they don't, because like Macallan offers loads of fancy stuff, but then they got a basic tour for 50 quid, which again is already quite high if you think compared to other distilleries. I think like they could have maybe done something like that, but then I can kind of see what they're aiming at. But then I don't know. I've not been like a crazy Dalmore fan, so I don't feel that upset about it.
I would often buy somebody a bottle. I think I've mentioned that in the podcast before, just because like it's quite Scottishy looking, if you're going somewhere and gifting a bottle. Yeah.
I know. I think loads of people buy it just because of the.
So I imagine they'll get a lot of overseas visitors.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, I would like to know if anyone still wants to talk about this. Let us know your feelings and whether you are planning to try to go and visit eventually, because obviously now it's fully booked for years.
Yeah, don't be in a hurry to go.
I was in London and then Richard Patterson was there, the Dalmore guy, the nose. And he's like, as soon as I met him, he just like handed me his business card. And I was like, oh, maybe we can go to Dalmore. I'll just have to email him.
Oh, that's nice. Did he seem a nice person?
Yeah, no, I think he's quite funny. Let's sample some whiskies before we need to get our guests in.
Yes, let's do it.
I'm on fire.
So we'll just rattle through these because we can have a chat with Heather and Andrea a little bit more in detail. So the first one is spelt rye. Spelt rye from Denmark, made with malted spelt, rye, and barley, which all play a part in their organic crop rotation, and is matured in American oak casks, bottled at 48.5%. This was quite nice, actually. I was worried because some of the ones that I tried recently went like that good. On the nose, I was getting vanilla, melted butter on porridge. That's like really traditional Finnish thing. You put butter on porridge.
Oh,
And then, vanilla sugar and butter popcorn.
yes, totally get that.
I feel like there's something else on the nose that I can't put my finger on what it is.
Well, there's something I can't put my finger on, but I kind of want to say it's fermented, a kind of subtle fermented funkiness, but a definite sweetness, like you would see on a caramel popcorn, but almost like a burnt caramel.
Some sort of citrus, like a candied one, maybe.
Maybe like a candied orange.
On the palate, I was getting citrus, raisins, something floral as well. I was trying to figure out what kind of floral note that was. Sweet cinnamon, tiny bit of pepper, and that kind of ginger that you get with sushi. And also a little bit vanilla.
Oh, I love that ginger all sliced. I don't know why, but I'm thinking it's juicier on the palate than I was imagining by the nose. I think the burnt sweetness for me, I thought, oh, is this going to taste, I don't know, like almost synthetic-y or something, but it doesn't.
Not too bad, actually.
I think there's a creaminess on the palate. I definitely agree on the raisin. Like I'm almost getting a plump, juicy raisin that's been soaked in sherry or something before you bake.
Yeah, I also put panau raisin, whatever is the...
Oh, yeah, the French pastry.
Yeah.
Something citrusy on the palate, I do.
There's a little bit of citrus element as well, I would say so.
I would say it goes down easily. I think the pepper's quite subtle for me.
Yeah, no, it's just a little bit at one point and it kind of goes away.
Yeah.
Reasonably long finish, I think.
Yeah, reasonably long. I'm not sure what I get on the finish. It just it's quite lingery, and the mouthfeel, I feel like quite a coated mouthfeel, and it lingery. But that's all I'm getting.
The next one. So this one I told you about before. You know the big worldwide whiskies advent calendar that I got.
Yeah.
One dram was Flóki from Iceland.
I do remember you telling me about that.
And it was not my favorite, and I actually ended up pouring it down the drain. Thankfully, this is not exactly the same release. This is a new one. I don't even know if this has been actually released officially yet. But so basically for centuries, Icelanders have been using this like a smoking method to preserve food and heat houses, like peat, but instead of peat, they're using sheep dung. And even today, they are using it for traditional food preparation and malt crafting. Don't worry about the dog. I think our listeners are used to it. It's a double wood reserve, sheep dung smoked, birch cask finish, 45% ABV.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Smoking with dung. And if it can not gross you out, you think, well, that makes sense. And it might be kind of like sweet and grassy. However, when I first picked up the glass, I was like, for Flóki's sake, what the feck is that on the nose?
Oh, I know exactly what it is. In Italy, we have this like pickled fish with red onion that you put on like a little toast with butter.
Whoa,
and I actually like it. Like it's tasty. Totally smells like that. This is like so fishy, pickled fish.
See, I'm not a pickled fish fan. My mummy used to eat that a lot and it'd be in the fridge and I would always like move my food far away from the top. Like for no reason, just like psychologically, I just think,
but it is also like a Nordic thing. We do like pickled fish and we like fish a lot.
Exactly.
But, like, it's kind of unusual smell in the whiskey. I'm also getting dill.
I've never smelled a whiskey like this. So different.
The green bits of fennel, dried herbs. I was thinking maybe like dried basil, perhaps, and some citrus as well.
Definitely more lemony on the citrus note than orangey.
Yeah, a tiny bit of the smoke, but again, it's like more like a smoky fish or something.
It's very sour smelling, like a savoury sour smell for me.
The palate, honestly, initially I'm like instantly getting farmyard manure, cows, but then I started to focus, like, think of something else. There must be something else. So it's maybe a bit barley malty kind of vibe. citrus peel, maybe even a little bit of apple. And then on the finish, I'm getting goat cheese.
I just keep thinking of farm animal like material on their
Yeah.
hoofs. You know, like all the kind of mud/dung/crap on a farmyard animal hoof. That's what it tastes like. With
Yeah.
a bit of sweetness.
Yeah. It's just total
It's
weird.
farmyard, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And it's very a quiet taste.
See, I'm super familiar with sheep dung because I've lived in a farmhouse, a farm on Mull, and would attend the sheep shearing, etc. And the farmers would think it was funny to shout catch and throw you bits of wool, like, oh, but it was actually all covered in dung. And it was over your wellies and stuff when you were out walking
Yeah.
about. So to me, it just tastes like I didn't
Yeah.
expect it. Like I thought, oh, that's a nice process that they're using
Yeah,
that.
I really want to like it. I really want to
Yeah.
like it, but it's just too weird. It's literally tastes like farm
Yeah, it tastes like
and
that.
animals and manure.
Yes.
Interesting. You know, if you see it somewhere, try it just for the experience.
But I'm keeping with it. I'm keeping sipping. I'm trying to, as you did, see past the immediate taste.
But while you're sipping, let me just quickly tell you about this last one because we need to get the girls in. This one was the one from Norway, Bifrost, which I think yours leaked, unfortunately. They're the world's northernmost whiskey.
I wish
So-
I'd had that one. That sounds very like Thor-like.
Yeah, they use small casks for maturation because they are in the Arctic location. So obviously it's very cold. So it would take ages to age anything. So this Vanaheim is 7th whiskey in the 9 Worlds of Norse Mythology series, matured in ex-bourbon casks and then finished in teak casks. And it was allowed to mature in an old NATO storage as well as modern Viking longhouse. So I'm just going to quickly tell you what it tastes like for me. In Finland at Christmas morning, we have rice porridge with cinnamon and sugar. Tastes like that. Oh, the nose is like that. And like vanilla pudding.
Yum, I want
And
it
like kind of
more
like a
now.
rice pudding, you know, that kind of vibe. On the palate, loads of raisin, dried fruits, cinnamon bun, bit of jasmine. Reminds me of like Amburana cask kind of vibe. So maybe the teak is similar. And then on the finish, like the spices are lingering, bitter dark chocolate, but it's very quite, like I find it quite cinnamony overall. Like it's not bad, but it's very cinnamony. Just takes me back to Finland.
I quite like cinnamon, so I'm having a wee smell of the empty bottle, and I cannot agree more with what you're saying on the note. I'd be quite keen
Oh.
to try it actually.
It would be an interesting distillery to visit as well because they're so high up in the north. I'm quite glad that you still had the Icelandic one, just because we were talking about it before, and just it's so hard to explain till you try it.
Yes, yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely. Right. Have you ever wanted proper VIP access to the best single malt whiskies on the planet? The Scotch Malt Whisky Society is where the magic happens.
Every month, the Society drops around 20 new single cask whiskies as a part of their outturn, each one individually selected and approved by the Society's expert tasting panel. With all the whiskies bottled at cask strength without chill filtration, allowing you to enjoy the whiskey in a raw, untouched way. No mass markets releases, no repeats.
Because every bottle comes from a single cask, roughly 250 bottles, and once they're gone, they are gone, like that one ex who vanished without a trace.
Except these whiskies are far more reliable and tastier.
And the name's only Scotch Malt Whisky Society would taste a whiskey and go, yes, this is clearly Jelly Babies in a sauna, or thunderstorm over a football.
They have bottled from over 150 distilleries, so whether you're into peat, pastry, fruit bombs, or something that smells like your granddad's shed, in a good way.
The Scotch Malt Whisky Society has got you covered. These are Dram's non-members can only dream of.
And now's the time to get into the good stuff. Join the society for £100 a year. That includes your membership and a bottle.
Yes, indeed, they'll throw in your first bottle worth £70. Plus, because you're listening to us, use the code SISTERS. That's SISTERS at checkout when you join, and you'll get 2 free Scotch Malt Whisky Society tasting glasses as well.
Head to smws.com/join and start your single cask adventure.
From the cask to the glass at the peak of its prime, it's SMWS. It is whiskey time.
That was good.
All those years I listened to Vanilla Ice, it's gone right in there.
Heather Storgaard.
Hello, lovely to meet you.
It's nice to meet you.
Where are you now?
I live in Edinburgh.
Oh, you do? I guess I'm so confused because like you're here at Edinburgh and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going
know.
to Poland and you speak what German and you're
Danish.
Danish, right?
I'm
You're Danish?
from Scotland originally, actually, but
Oh,
English works well enough. It's fine. I've lived in Denmark and Switzerland as well. So
Wow.
Ah.
yeah, there's a lot of people going. I'll say, they'll say, "Where are you from?" And I'll say Forres, and they'll go, "Is that in Germany?" And I'm like, "No, try Murray."
Really confusing.
Andrea's, when she joins, is no better. She's Canadian, but she's half German. Like her mum's from Germany, so she speaks German, but her name is Polish, and she used to live in the UK, and her husband's French.
Oh my God.
And when we go out, and it's us and our husbands, and people go, "Where are you all from?" And I'm like, you just don't actually want to ask this.
Yeah.
You'll be here all night.
Well, while we have you, why don't we just talk about a little bit about these whiskies that we just sampled? Why did you choose these whiskies for us?
I think they're all very different and very different from a normal whiskey, each and every one of them. So I kind of wanted to show breadth. However, I am aware that maybe they are all over the place.
Andrea Fujarczuk.
Hello.
Hey, thank you
Hi,
for joining us.
welcome.
Thank you for having me. Greetings from the past. It's actually only 1:00 over here, so it's a nice little midday dram.
Take two. I'll start from the top.
Welcome, Heather and Andrea. You've been busy when it comes to Nordic Whisky, so why don't we start with a little introduction on who you are and what you do? Heather, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I'm primarily a journalist. I write about whiskey for a living, some food and some travel as well, which is a very lovely job. But I was asked at the start of this year if I would be interested in working with the Nordic Whisky collaboration group on kind of an exercise in figuring out what Nordic whiskey currently is, with a view to taking that forward and just working on developing that as a whiskey region, as a whiskey category, or maybe multiple categories. I've been very busy with that.
Yeah, we're gonna dig deeper in a minute. So, Andrea, what about you?
So my name is Andrea Fujarczuk, and I am based in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. I am currently a full-time professor of artisan distilling at Niagara College. So I actually teach the trade of distilling. But I am also doing a doctorate at Heriot-Watt University, and that is based on consumer values and the role of country of origin in the Canadian whiskey market, which is it's a big mouthful. And most people are like, well, what does that mean? But what it's really driven me to understand is understanding the value of geography and
Yeah.
how how a product, especially that of whiskey, will be evaluated differently based on where it's from, based on its origins. It's taken me on this whole journey of understanding that a lot of regions are undervalued, but they're not understanding how to harness the place of where they're from. And to be honest with you, I'm realizing some places are overvalued. But I digress.
Yes, so you guys collaborate a lot. How did it start? And like, how did you, because you kind of come from a slightly different, looking at things like from different aspects. So how did you get together?
We both did the Our Whiskey Foundation 3 years ago now. Just got chatting in a big group chat and realized we had a lot to say to one another that was probably annoying everybody else. So we started chatting, just the two of us on WhatsApp. And then I was visiting Canada and Andrea said, "Why don't you stop by?" I did. And both of our husbands kind of were wondering, who is this person? But we were internet friends. That's what I'm saying. But we're interested in quite a lot of the same things and interested in whiskey from beyond just kind of Scotland, Kentucky, those kind of regions that people normally want to talk about. So
Yeah.
all the time. And we've written a couple of articles together. Yeah, I think that's us. We've spoken together at conferences. That's also nice.
That's amazing. And how lovely that our whiskey opportunity brought you both together and has taken, its own train of work and friendship.
Yeah, we were really lucky to have connected in the first place because we actually have a lot in common, despite the fact that we literally live halfway around the world from each other. But I think that was the best part, is that we're both very multicultural. And so we look at a lot of things from a cultural perspective, and we try and look at it from different angles. And it was funny because when we presented at these conferences, we got a lot of compliments that we worked really well together. But the funniest thing to us is like, this is just us chatting on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like me and Jen, when we talk, we always just end up talking about whiskey, and then our husbands are like, or partners are like asking, like, "Oh, how's what's happening with?" Oh, I don't know. Actually, I forgot to ask. We're just talking about whiskey the whole time.
It definitely
Yeah.
does take over.
Yeah, for sure. When you look at whiskey regions, both of you, like globally, maybe this is more for Andrea, but I guess for both of you. When you look at whiskey regions globally, what kind of patterns do you see in like how reputation is built or how it's lost?
Oh, that's a really good question. No one's ever asked me that before, so I appreciate it. I see two different camps, to be honest with you. I see one camp where people are like very concerned and working towards developing reputation and understand the power and value in harnessing that and coming to the table and discussing it. And then I see other people who hoping that it just kind of evolves naturally. And if I'm being very honest with you, sometimes it does evolve naturally. And I would say, I look Niagara, for example, I'm from this region in Niagara. We're all known for wine. But what's happening is we're now developing a reputation for producing a lot of whiskeys that are aged in barrels used for the wine previously from the region, making a really authentic product. So it's great when you have these regions that it happens naturally, but most of the time it has to be like come to the table and you need to figure out what are we going to agree upon. And there's a big risk that people don't realize is that if you don't control the narrative will control you. Sometimes that means somebody else with more money comes through and realizes there's a financial opportunity. And sometimes that means that, you just don't mature enough as you would like. It's really exciting to see regions like the Nordic community who is actually coming together and saying, how do we want to harness our brand as Nordic whiskies and have something that, consumers can understand. And it takes a long time. This is not an overnight thing, but it is really exciting to see them trying to understand their golden thread and what brings them together and what unites them.
And maybe following on a bit from that, do you feel like emerging regions like the Nordics have an advantage because they're maybe not weighted down by long whiskey heritage, or maybe at a disadvantage because they don't have it?
It's a bit of both. You're right. It's an advantage and a disadvantage. So innovation for a lot of these regions is endless, right? You don't have a lot of the restrictions that these old world whiskeys have, which is the old world whiskeys. They've got what they've got their brands that they've got, but the new world's like, oh, we can do this and we can do this and we can do this. And they're really starting to think outside of the box. And if you were to compare this to that of wine, you look at what New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc has done or California Chardonnay. These are all new world wines that 70 years ago, no one would have ever thought of or thought that it would have taken market share or thought that it would have developed a reputation. And now they're staples in the wine community. But furthermore, and Heather can attest to this a little bit more than me, they're also developing different flavors because they're using and they're harnessing their heritage and their local terroir.
I think that kind of goes on to the whiskies that I sent to you guys, because they are all doing very different things, but what unites them, I think, is this attempt to bottle something local. Yeah, so we're going to talk about the Flóki whiskey, which is kind of crazy that it's a marriage of casks that some of them have contained whiskey that's been smoked with sheep dung. And that's very Icelandic. It's traditionally how they preserve food in Iceland. And the other kinds of casks that are included in this release are birch, which Iceland famously doesn't really have trees. The only trees they have are these kind of scrubby birch trees. And so they've put that into their whiskey as well. So what you've kind of got is this taste of Iceland, I guess, which is a lovely way to think about it. It's a lovely whiskey to kind of take home with you and think about where it's from.
It's very fishy. And like I found the nose is so fishy. It's like pickled fish, which I don't mind because I like pickled fish.
I
Like,
love pickled fish.
Unusual. And then the palate was literally farm with cows and sheep and pigs. And, like we were just saying, like, okay, if you can get hands on, like for just the dram, definitely try it for the experience. It's probably not for everyone, but I can see why. Like I feel as well, like a lot of the Nordic whiskies, they do taste like Finnish whiskies for me just taste like Finland. It takes me all these memories. Same with the bifrost, cinnamon buns, rice porridge on Christmas morning with cinnamon, all these Nordic flavors.
It goes everywhere from pickled fish to cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
But it's all Nordic.
I don't know if it's always for everyone who's not used to those kind of flavors. I don't know.
But I think that's the point. Because like when you visit a region, right? We used to 30 years ago, I remember my parents especially, like we'd go through duty free and they would pick up a Bacardi rum because it was cheaper that way. But now people are like, I want to bring a piece of this back with me. So when I'm back home, I can revisit this memory and this place. Because like at the end of the day, imagine they were producing light and smooth whiskeys and you were just like, it tastes like whiskey. You'd be like, there's nothing special about it. It's completely reproducible around the world. I don't really care.
No, I get that. I agree. One of the things also with these whiskeys that you send, maybe the cask types, like you said, the birch, there's teak. So these are kind of interesting as well. The teak one reminds me of Amburana cask.
I get that. Yeah, so the teak one was a Bifrost Vanaheim, which was a limited release as part of their 9 World Series when the distillery was kind of getting started. I must also say all of these distilleries do have more standard releases. I kind of love that the teak has imparted, like we said, these really Nordic, interesting flavors to the Vanaheim. But apart from that, teak is used so much in Scandinavian furniture. It's used historically in ships. It's kind of very fitting that you would take this wood that is so ubiquitous across the region and go, I wonder what this tastes like in a whiskey. I kind of love that approach. Yeah.
And I like that it's potentially introducing like new flavors to people, that haven't grown up with certain things regularly on their palate. Heather, I was going to ask, you recently being in Helsinki, could you tell our listeners a bit about the Nordic Whisky Forum and what your part is in that?
Yeah. So I went to Helsinki a couple of weeks ago. And I was at the Helsinki Distilling Company for the Nordic Whisky Forum, which was really a get-together of Nordic distilleries who are interested in collaborating and figuring out what Nordic whiskey is, how they can work together to, further build up a category and also ultimately support their own brands and businesses, right? So I presented essentially a lot of what they had told me they thought Nordic whiskey was. There were still some surprises because everybody thinks Nordic whiskey is something different. And I think there's a little bit of a risk if you look from the outside of seeing all the Nordics as the same. And Inka, you probably get this. Actually, they're really quite diverse in particularly, environments and nature. You've got the sort of flat, very fertile farmlands in Denmark through to Iceland and glaciers, Arctic Norway, the forests of Finland and Sweden. So it's a very diverse region, but there are these kind of threads of putting something local into whiskey, of really focusing on where the grain is from. There are kind of similarities to their approaches, which sort of, I believe, probably stem from Nordic culture generally having some synergies. So I presented about that, and then Moa Reynolds and I held a tasting of Nordic whiskies where we looked at some of those things, and people tasted some of the whiskies you've tasted, some different ones. Yeah, the starting point for a discussion session about how people think this can go forward.
You've been gathering values and flavor markers that distilleries across the Nordics want to present as Nordics. What themes did come up time and time again?
I think Nordic nature came up. There is a very great connection with the people and the outdoors, and kind of just whatever their local nature is, getting out into that space no matter what the weather is, and a real wish to put local farming into whiskey products, which sounds quite simple, but if we're looking at old world whiskies in Scotland, you know, it goes on, but it's not. These distilleries are so big that it's not really something that's happening on an industrial scale very much. So I find that very interesting. You have amazing single estate distilleries in the Nordics, like 2 in Denmark. I think that's the 3rd whiskey that I sent you guys. Yeah, so that was a spelt rye whiskey, which I love. So 2 is a farm distillery that's been in the family for many generations, and they decided to start making whiskey from their grain because their grain is so good. And it's really lovely to see that kind of farming heritage bottled. So this is something that was talked about quite a lot as well. Rye as a grain, it's loved across the region. Finland, and I think Finland and Denmark may be the absolute strongest rye-loving Nordic countries, but everywhere else as well. Rye bread, rye. Rye goes in a lot of the food.
What do you think about some of the rye whiskies can be a bit hit and miss? Some of the quality in some whiskies aren't quite there yet.
That's always something that is a risk with sort of younger distilleries. They're figuring it out as they go along. And I think sometimes also it's a supply chain thing. When I see some Nordic whiskies on shop shelves in the UK, I can tell from the packaging that they've been there for quite a while. And that the most current releases have more age and more experience.
Yeah, because I don't mean like necessarily age, that they're young at age, but more about the experience of the...
Well, I think there's both as well, right? There's different releases that, they've managed to up the age statements as over the last few years.
I find this like particularly fascinating because you asked quickly like about the Nordic reputation versus like the individual country, and like each individual country is so different, but they also shared what we call collective reputation. And that means is that like if somebody tries an amazing Finnish whiskey, they're much more likely to try a Danish whiskey because they're gonna put them in the same category. And just like in real estate, like if your next door neighbor's house sells for like $5 million, that's going to increase the value of your product. So it's like such an asset and a liability, because you're going to say, okay, we're going to be grouped together no matter what. We might as well work together on this. But that's part of the reason why I think it's so important. Those products that are sitting on the shelves for so long, it's by developing a collective reputation, you can help to move those faster. And the reason being is because if you're going to a party, Heather's heard this explanation before, but it's my favorite analogy. If you're going to a party and you need to bring a banger, right? Like you want to bring the best whiskey possible, and you go to the store and you don't know a single brand. The first thing your mind goes to, okay, where is it from, right? You're thinking about the place of origin. And your mind is thinking, I want the least amount of risk, meaning I have the most amount of trust. And for you guys, what countries would that be? Or what regions?
Within Scotch?
Could be anything. So there you go. So it could be Scotch, right?
Yeah.
You'd be like, Scotch has the lowest risk, therefore I have the most amount of trust.
Yeah.
And then is there a region within Scotland that you would trust the most?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know, like Isla or Speyside?
If I was buying for non-whiskey drinkers, I would trust Speyside.
Yeah, probably.
But do you see how that funnel has already happened and we haven't even discussed a brand, right?
Yeah.
You've already gone to knowing exactly where you're going. And that's where like it's the power of the Nordics understanding that their collective brand will have an impact on each other.
Yeah.
And so that brand can help to easily move that bottle. So again, like if you're going to look and you see a whole shelf and you got Canadian whiskey on one side, I'm from Canada. I love Canadian whiskey. We make a lot of great products, but let's be honest, most of it is smooth and mass produced. So the risk of that. Is it high or is it low?
The risk is quite high, I would say.
Exactly. But if you're looking at an unknown established region like the Nordics, you have to then look for other qualities. Like you're looking for reviews, you're looking for awards, you're looking for all these different things. But if you're looking at an established region like Scotch or bourbon, you know exactly the flavor profile, you know the minimum standards, you know the processes that are associated with it. So the Nordic collaboration, which I think is so cool, is like looking to say, okay, can we move into this category, unknown category? Can we figure out how to be a known category and reduce that risk?
Whisky Sisters!
American single malt recently got all those regulations that they should meet. So do you think that something like that's going to happen to Nordic whiskey? Or
So that's, I think, what's being discussed. That's kind of an aim, is to figure out some form of definitions. Right now, everyone has different ideas of what those are, which is why the Nordic Whisky Collaboration is hosting forums and things like that to try and talk it through, figure out ways to get closer together to an idea that people can agree upon. And then on the side of that, there's things like, you know, what practical steps can Nordic countries take to support their whiskey, you know, aside from all of this that's legislation. For example, last year at London Whisky Show, the distilleries from the Nordics had a Nordic Whisky zone. So they were all gathered together and people could come and spend time in that zone and go from distillery to distillery stand and kind of learn as they were.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's so simple, right? If those distillery stands had been spread out across the hall, people would have maybe looked at it and gone, oh, I don't know that brand name. Whereas because it said Nordic Whisky Zone, you knew what you were entering and you knew that you were kind of going to go on this journey of exploration of whiskey that you'd probably never had before. And it was really popular. I was there on the last day and I didn't get to talk to some people because the queues were enormous. That's the definition of success.
Exactly. That's really good to hear, because I think there's some struggle with some whiskey festivals anyway at the moment. And then that they've been allowed to do that together is really good.
Yeah. But also that's like harnessing the brand of the Nordics at all, right? Especially North America has this idea that Nordic whiskey, anything Nordic is premium. And so, and to be fair, if you were to say Finnish or Danish or Swedish isolated, it wouldn't have that same power.
Yes.
So I love that idea of, I'm going to explore this entire area together and I'm going to try and understand the region, and rather than like, oh, just one random Icelandic distillery that's, who knows what they're doing. They don't know. And the truth is, I don't know. They may know, they may not. But it's also the appearance from the consumer. So it is very exciting.
I was just thinking that because even, you know, in media, Nordic noir being quite popular genre on TV, or hearing about surveys of Finnish people being the happiest or whatever it is, you know, they might affect and have cognitive biases for the buyers. Like,
I was actually talking to some people at the Nordic Whisky Forum about this idea that a lot of Nordic countries are among the happiest in the world in these surveys. That's a great association to have globally, right? If you see something Nordic and you associate it with these happy people, that's an amazing association for products. Whether that's actually kind of true, I think there's a lot of, Inka, maybe you would agree with me on this, but I think happy, it also has different meanings in different languages. And if you ask someone in English, are you happy? They kind of take it as a jumping for joy, happiness.
No, yeah, you're more content.
I think some of these surveys are reflecting contentness.
Yeah, I think it's like for Finland, I think we talked about this briefly before. I think it's more, you're more content what you have. You're not overreaching. Americans are probably the opposite, where they want more and bigger and better. And in Finland, if something nice happens that is extra that you didn't expect, you're like, oh, that's great. I didn't need that necessarily. I'm quite happy here. So because you're not expecting too much or overreaching, you're happy with, and then obviously you have the nature aspect and things like that. But I think it's just settling. I'm not sure if it's settling for less, but it's just settling. Yeah,
it's contentness.
Yeah,
right?
It really is. Yeah.
But that global brand of happiness is out there in the world. So if as a whiskey brand or a whiskey region, you can harness that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go do it.
No, but look at like marketing of Kyro Distillery, for example. They're really playing to that whole Finnish the theme, and they kind of the humor, and like it does make you smile when you see their stuff. So
I met with some of them at the Nordic Whisky Forum, and they gave me a tea towel that had the very iconic photo of them running naked through a rye field on it. And I brought it home and I put it in my kitchen. And my husband said, "Have you just put up a towel that shows a load of naked men?" And I was very tired. I just got back from Helsinki, and I turned to him and I went, "Don't worry, I know the naked men personally."
Yeah.
And he said, "Heather, that does not make it any better."
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not stranger backside.
They're not stranger backsides. I know. I mean, I know them clothed, but
Yeah.
but it makes you smile, right? And that's
Yeah.
what you hopefully want a whiskey to do in some way, shape, or form. So it's a nice reminder of Kiro that is in my kitchen.
What would you say is the one thing that Nordics are doing that all the whiskey regions should be paying attention to?
Collaboration.
Yeah, sticking together.
I think they're not rushing things. They're taking the time to meet on multiple occasions, and meet online and figure out what makes their region a region. And some other countries are not, you're kind of getting more of a sense that single players are dictating the narrative. And I think that's unavoidable to an extent, because whiskey distilleries, some are bigger and some are smaller, some are more powerful, some have louder voices. But I think there's something very Nordic about a wish to collaborate and to meet in different formats. And you can see that with how, democracy is set up in Nordic countries as well. And if you're from there, it's all you know. So it's kind of not special. If you're not from there and you look from the outside, I've lived in Denmark, I've lived in other countries, well, Scotland, Switzerland, I've lived in other places too. Every little town and village in Denmark will have some kind of council, and then that will just be made up of people who make decisions for the local area. There will be so many clubs, so much volunteering, and that's really valued in society. And I think you're kind of seeing that translated to the approaches towards figuring out Nordic whiskey as well.
From an academic perspective, I love seeing this. And I think like the key thing that Heather said is they're taking their time, because what I'm studying more or less like how to develop a region and how to establish it. And like this European need to just establish a GI as soon as possible is kind of drives me up the wall sometimes. And I understand this obsession. And there have been studies that shows that like regions with GIs fetch more money. The thing about these regions, they already have established history and heritage and tradition. But if you don't have that, if you haven't figured out what makes you special and you haven't figured out your link to the land, it's hard to even communicate to people what makes it special about that region. And I'm seeing other whiskey regions who are like, we need a GI. It's the first thing we need. Like, let's go straight. And it's like, you're going straight to, straight to jail. Do not pass go, not collect $200. And they're like establishing these things on minimum standards. That means nothing. First of all, will it pass? I don't know. But secondly, you're actually sometimes you're stifling innovation by doing that, because you're putting, prerequisites to something that you don't even understand what it is. So
and
I just
not allowed that organic growth.
Exactly, right? Like it takes time, and it's not, and the most awkward thing about it is like, if this is you establishing a region, you start off here, you start working together here to figure out what you're doing here. But if you start to figure out if you start here, the collaboration, someone's already realized there's potential in your market, you're going to have a conglomerate come up and suddenly they're going to have market share, and then you lose the narrative. So it's like this weird thing where you have to do it at the right time, at the right place, at the right pace. Otherwise, you may never mature. You may put too many barriers to entry. The thing is, like, from what I understand as well, it's like, oh, you can't find local grain? Don't worry, I'll hook you up, right? Like, it's like they want to see their neighbor succeed, which is not always the case in new emerging regions. And they understand that, if they succeed, well, they're going to stop, they're going to go there, and then they're going to come here, or they're going to try that product, and then they're going to try ours. Like Heather said, it may seem normal to them, but it's powerful.
There's a quiet confidence to it as well, to turning up at a whiskey fair as a group and say, we're Nordic Whisky. You drink my whiskey and I'm going to go and send you over and tell you, okay, you liked this, you'll probably like that. And I'm going to send you to my neighbor. And I'm going to trust that hopefully as a consumer, you're kind of happy enough to like us both. But that kind of quiet confidence is really appealing as well.
Yeah.
Instead of
No.
constant competition.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I really hope that they succeed and find the ways that they want to go. And because, because at the moment it's a bit of a mixed bag. But like at the same time, I don't want everyone to be the same either. And it's just unique flavors. It really is. The whiskeys are full of unique flavors that you don't find anywhere else.
And there is a sense that something needs to be worked out, because the whiskey coming out of the Nordics is very diverse right now. Whereas traditionally, when we're talking about regions, as we said before, Speyside, you have an immediate flavor association.
Yeah.
We haven't really got one flavor association with the Nordics right now.
Sauna.
Yeah, sauna. But there are potential kind of subcategories that are emerging.
Yeah.
The kind of innovative smoke in whiskey that is coming out of the Nordics is something that I find really interesting, because if we talk about wood smoke in whiskey, most of what people can name is coming from the Nordics. It's not only Nordic whiskey, they're doing it in Canada, in the United States as well. But you have older smoked whiskey, you have beach smoked whiskey, you have a lot of flavors, and that's kind of emerging as a bit of a trend that's linked to the region. Of course, that's very different from, the kind of rye whiskies that are popular as well, and all the other kinds of whiskey. But I think drilling down into that and figuring out, do we have a subcategory here? Can we work together to promote this? That's something that could come out of sort of future collaboration efforts.
If you think about the brand of Scotch, there's so many different flavor profiles within the brand of Scotch, right? So it doesn't have to be so exact or precise. It can be very impactful. Like you say, Isla, and everybody automatically knows a flavor profile. The strength of that is incredible. But they also have a lot of history and heritage backed up by that. And it's like a very unique region, and they have that capability. But it doesn't have to suit that exactly.
Yeah, and I feel like now with Scotch as well, because as soon as you think about smoke and peat, you think about Isla, but there's so many peated whiskies coming from other regions as well. So now they're just having to explain like, oh, there's peat. It doesn't have to be Isla. We get peat like, Lowland does peat and Highlands does peat. That's like a different struggle.
There's going to be kind of friction points, whatever you do with whiskey. I think it's just, it's just about trying to minimize those maybe and figure out ways to control the narrative, to use Andrea's phrase.
Just quickly, what's your favorite Nordic whiskey that if you would have to recommend something right now, you can only choose one? Or like what you're excited about right now, or something like that?
Really excited about Aurora Spirit from Norway. They're in the Arctic, and they've been working with farmers in the Arctic in their local area to grow barley there, which is a bit crazy. That is really far north to grow barley. They are releasing their first Arctic barley. Well, they released their first limited release with it last year. And I'm just really excited to see where that goes, because it brings completely new ways of thinking into whiskey, which is exciting. They've got an amazing team up there, and it's also one of the most stunning places to visit I think I've ever visited, actually. You have the distillery, and then they have some cabins that are right by the fjord. The maturation warehouse is behind the distillery, and it's just stunning. Yes, I'll take Aurora Spirit's Arctic Barley as my most exciting whiskey.
But I love their teak finish, just because it's so regional too, right? Like teak is something that we don't always look at, we wouldn't think of. I love that they're doing that. And for me, I like Hero because of their rye. I find the rye root really fascinating. And they're doing some interesting cask finishes, like their Amarone cask finish. I love it because like this is their heritage, right? Like there's so much rye over there. It's really interesting because it's like the immigrants took rye, brought it to the US. The US started distilling it. Then they kind of abandoned ship and embraced bourbon. Canadians then took it over, and now it's like made its way back to its motherland, which is
Can you tell who's going to be talking about rye whiskey at Tales of the Cocktail?
very excited to talk about rye.
Yeah, good options for sure. We need like a Nordic whiskey tour, Jen. We need to
I
go
was
on
just going
to.
to say it really draws me to like a kind of magical mystery tour with, phenomenal flavors, and it sounds a complete experience. If anybody wanted to fund Jen and Inka your Nordic whiskies,
I
we
know.
would be open to the idea because
Yeah,
it sounds
we could film it.
it's really exciting actually to hear from you both and your different perspectives. It's
Quite a
exciting.
lot of the distilleries are actually launching their own wee festivals.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Kuro. I still haven't been to Kuro Distillery. The festival sounds fun.
Their festival sounds great, and I know High Coast do one that's just over the water from Kiro in Sweden. Aurora Spirit are doing one this summer. I'm going to be at Two's festival talking about Nordic whiskey, and then I think Stowning have launched one for this summer as well. And there's probably many more that I don't know about, but I think that's doing a lovely job of bringing people together to the distilleries as kind of a summer excursion. Learn about the place, drink some whiskey. I mean,
yeah, it really turns it into an entire experience rather than like, here's a drink. And that's what people want, both local and international. I think that there's so much potential here if done properly.
Ladies, I'm loving your collaborations. It's been so lovely to hear from you both. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And thanks for the samples as well.
Thank you so much, ladies. Lovely to meet you.
You've been listening to the Whisky Sisters podcast.
Thank you for our guests today. Next month will be a fun one. It's my birthday random smash episode.
Woo!
I will be sending you some goodies, including probably Ardbeg 10 cask strength random Jura I picked up from the airport, Deanston orange wine that I loved, whatever
Inka,
random
can I
stuff.
just clarify? Are you talking to me only, or are you offering that out to our listeners?
No, I'm talking to you.
Okay.
I'm sending you. You don't, yeah. So it was going to be a random smash because you don't even know what's going to be there. And I don't know
Nice.
exactly because I might change my mind last minute. But it will also be random because the chat.
And, we will talk about whatever comes up at the time. And if our listeners would like us to chat about anything specifically, then please let us know. Slide into the DMs as always.
Yeah, send us questions, anything you want to know about Whisky Sisters or whiskies or whiskey regions or releases or anything random. And we'll pick up the questions and chat. And meanwhile, you can follow us on Instagram at whiskysisters.podcast, X at Whisky Sisters, and Facebook at Whisky Sisters Podcast.
And hopefully we lived up to our promise and it wasn't a shitty old episode, even if we had some dung smoked whiskey.
Have a last sniff. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's more springtime at the farm now. It's kind of softened a bit in the air.
It's a bit more citrusy, maybe.
Still tastes like farm.
And dill.
Okay, honey, take care of yourself. Behave. If you can't behave, be careful.
See you next month.